TVC News at 10. A report that captures the anguish and poverty of trafficking survivors has been released by Human Rights Watch.
The content of the report is already raising dust and indicts government agencies for failing to properly cater for the recovery and well-being of survivors. Senior correspondent Femi Akande tells us more.
When Adora was 18, she met a woman who promised her a well-paying job.
The trauma is unending for trafficking survivors in Nigeria. This latest report by the Human Rights Watch reveals that many survivors of sex and labor trafficking struggle with unaddressed health challenges, poverty, and harsh conditions upon their return to the country. There is now a growing concern about the alleged detention of survivors in shelters, in violation of Nigeria's international legal obligations. I sat down with Agnes Odehambo. She is a senior women's rights researcher at the Human Rights Watch. We talked about the grim fate of trafficking survivors in Nigeria and the need to provide more support.
So these women are put in shelters with high walls and barbed wire and metal bars. They are not allowed to call their families unless it's, some few supervised calls. Their phones are taken away. They are not given proper information about why they're in the shelter. They are just huddled into these shelters. They are not given clear information about the kind of help that they are going to receive or when they are going to go home.
There are more than 40 million people who are victims of this modern-day slavery worldwide. 71% of this figure are women and children. The 2018 Global Slavery Index ranks Nigeria 32 out of 167 countries with the highest number of slaves. Nigeria is also routinely listed as one of the countries with the largest number of trafficking victims overseas, particularly in Europe. On the flip side of the Human Rights Watch report is a strong response from the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, trashing claims of detention in shelters.
After going through the report, we are bold to say that the entire report is a mere figment of the imagination of the writers, as the narratives fall below the standards in the operations of our shelters, as well as the standards for our victim support and assistance. It is important to note that the agency observes all the world's best practices in victim handling as enshrined by the Palermo Protocol.
But allegations by the Human Rights Watch may linger for a while and call attention to the activities of the anti-trafficking agency, even as they continue to make modest gains in smashing syndicates trafficking people out of the country. Femi Akande, TVC News, Abuja.